Hello, and welcome. We're going to be doing a little practice today for the spine, or the low back more specifically, and the hips. So grab yourself a block and place it under your hips in a cross-legged position. Hello. Move around until you feel a little comfortable, and stack the back of your head over the back of your pelvis. And start to roll your shoulders up, back, and down, and breathe in and out of your nose. In through your nose, out of your nose. See if you can feel this breath in your belly. See if you can feel the expansion and the contraction. We're going to start off nice and easy and then move into a little bit more movement. Right now, we're just focusing on breathing. Move your hands up to the ribs and start to feel your ribs expand and contract. This means you're breathing with your diaphragm. So it kind of goes belly, diaphragm, and then maybe into the upper chest and relax. But I'm going to guess you already breathe into your upper chest. Just focus on the belly, the ribs, and then the upper chest. And a long, smooth exhale. And we're going to come out of this, and I want you to keep breathing like that for the entire practice. We're going to come into this nice little hands and knees position. And we're going to open up the hips a little bit by making some big, giant, but slow circles. 3 in one direction and 3 in the other. At times, I'll remind you to keep breathing and maybe even cue the breath to be long and smooth. If at any time it's difficult to breathe, back off in how much effort you're using and make it nice and gentle. There's no reason to struggle here. And then gently come back into a child's pose. Knees wide, toes touching. Here you can also feel and maybe even see your belly breathing. Walk your hands around to the right. Let your left hip lop over to the left a bit. Feel that nice stretch. And then walk the hands gently over to the left. And let your right hip lop over to the right. And breathe. And just feel that side body opening. Feel the energy flowing through, and then walk your hands back to the center and to seated. All right, let's make our way to standing. And we're going to first come into a standing forward fold. So go ahead and come on over, bend your knees enough to let your ribs rest on your thighs. I'm not concerned about straight legs here or hamstring stretch or anything like that, but just make sure that your ribs are touching your thighs. This allows for your spine to decompress, and that's what I want to see you guys do here. So maybe bend your knees a few times as you straighten your legs, kind of feel your the thigh bones moving up toward the ceiling. Bend and straighten a few times, maybe a lot or a little, kind of whatever feels good for your body right now in this moment. And then rest into your forward fold. Yes. All right. Now we're going to push up to standing, and we're going to do that without rolling. So let's come back into it one more time. We're going to take a breath, and on an exhale, without rolling through the spine, we're going to push straight up. Lead with the top of your heart. Beautiful. All right. This is a little safer for your low back, so you don't work on a bulging disc. We're going to take a block, and we're going to place it on the floor. Put one foot on your block, and then come into a forward fold. Press your foot down into the block, and we're going to do what I call juicing the hips. Juicing the hips is like moving your hips around, and it doesn't have to be a circle. It could be like a random movement. But you want to make sure your foot is pressing down in the block. This is going to give you a tensile stretch and help you open your hip. Enjoy. Step back with that free foot. This is kind of a pyramid pose, but still with your foot on the block. Same thing. I want you to press your foot down into the block and juice your hip. And of course, don't forget to breathe. You guys have that part, no problem. And step that foot forward, push down with both feet to lift up into a standing position. And all we're going to do is slide that block on over to the other side so you can put the other foot on it. And as you exhale, come down into a forward fold. Gently press your foot into the block and start to juice your hip. This just starts to encourage your hip, the connective tissue in your hip that kind of makes it feel tight. And it just helps it to kind of get into that first stage of loosening. And step your free foot back into that pyramid pose. Press your foot down again into the block. Just notice how it kind of, it gives up a little bit. And we just want to make sure it's pressing down, juicing the hip, feeling good about this. Make it easy. Make it good feeling. And when you feel about complete, step your foot forward and we're going to press straight up to standing again. Fantastic, fantastic. All right, we're going to go in one more time on each side. This is the second time you might feel like, yeah, okay, things are a little bit more open. I can get kind of into this next layer of tension. So enjoy this. Step back into that pyramid pose. We're going to be here a little shorter time this second round. And step your foot forward and then through your feet, press up to standing. What's really cool is when you start to feel the pressure of your feet lengthen your spine and help lift you up out of this. So if you're feeling that, or if you can get in touch with it, that's a really nice, it's a really nice feeling. Stepping back into that pyramid pose for a little hip juicing. Stepping back into that forward fold. And then exhale, press to standing. You guys are awesome. So we're going to come into our next position. Now I want you to find a nice spot on the wall that you can really work with. I love working on this spot right here. And what we're going to use the wall for is to align our bodies. So we're going to do a triangle pose. We're going to put the hips, both of them, both butt cheeks on the wall, and both shoulder blades on the wall, and reach your arms out. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're gonna pretend that I'm leaning up against this painting. And what I'm gonna do is take the right foot out and then make sure both shoulder blades, both hips are on the wall. This is going to make your triangle a little bit more difficult than maybe you're used to if you're used to practicing one in the middle of the floor. You can always bend your knee if there's a lot of hamstring pull. I want you to feel this length on this side of the body, where sometimes we don't feel a lot of energy going through here. Also, your top shoulder might want to peel off there, so just put it back on and breathe. Make sure that you are in here and you can breathe. If you're down a little too far, sometimes it's hard to breathe. So no problem coming up a little bit so that you can breathe. Hold here. And then we'll inhale as you come up, and then face all 10 toes forward and turn your other foot out. If you're on the same side as me, it's your left toes. Reach and reach. Again, this left side of the body, you want it to be super long from the hip, outside of the greater trochanter, all the way through your fingertips on that left side. Both hips, both shoulder blades, do a little alignment check for yourself. And then gently come out. This is helping align your spine. I used to have scoliosis, and this was one of the positions that helped me a lot, actually. And I love it because it helps release a lot of tension that's in your low back. We're in a forward fold now. We've got the hips on the wall, and your head completely hangs. You are welcome to shift a little bit right and left if that feels good, or you can just hold. On your next exhale, press up to standing, and we're going to do each side one more time. This time might be a little easier. Remember to make it gentle. Remember, you want to be able to breathe here. Both hips, both shoulder blades on the wall. I can't emphasize that enough. And slowly lifting up. Switching to that other side, triangle pose or trikonasana. Stay here with your breath, with your alignment. Excellent, excellent. And then inhale to lift out of it. Turn all 10 toes forward, coming into a wide leg forward fold. Place your hips on the wall. Usually when I come down into the wide leg forward fold, then my hips kind of peel off the wall a little bit. I just boop, put them back and breathe. Take your arms wide. Wrap your wrists around your calves or your ankles. Just take some nice deep breaths and really feel the length in your spine, your head reaching for the floor, space between the vertebrae, and then as you exhale next, press up to standing. Excellent, my friends. All right. We're going into another hip position, and this is not something that I normally teach, but I love feeling how your foot affects your hip. So grab yourself a block and come into a warrior two position, Virabhadrasana 2. And we're going to make sure the knee is right over the heels and the alignment of the little 3 toes. So if you look over your knee, you probably can't see those last 3 toes. Take your arms out, and then we're going to push the heel into the block and let the toes kind of lighten up. And then press the balls of the foot into the block, and the heel lightens up a little bit. Just notice how that changes in the hip. And then the heel again. And then the balls of the foot again. Now press the whole foot down into the block. And hold, and just kind of notice what that feels like. And then just gently reach for the floor. This might be where you stop, is just reaching for the floor and feeling a nice little stretch in the hip by pressing the foot into the block. But if you want more, you might crawl your hands so that it's a hand and a block with a foot on it. And if there's a lot of strain here, just go back to that first variation and breathe. And then for folks who want a little bit more, now we're going to come out. And then what we'll do here is heel toe, so you can gently come out of the pose. All right, now guess what we're going to do? Side 2. So go ahead and place your foot on the block, come into that warrior. Here's the alignment. I'm going to repeat it again. The knee is over the ankle. The knee is in the way of you being able to see your last 3 toes. Arms out. Breathe deep, slow and smooth in and out of that nose. Slowly, gently. Maybe take your fingertips to the floor. Now, if that's too much, you can always just be here and stay here. We're going to pedal the heel into the block, the toes into the block, the heel into the block, and then the toes into the block. Excellent. Now, maybe reaching for the floor. Again, you could just stay in that one pose and kind of work with the foot to hip connection. Or you can take the hands alongside the block and breathe. And then slowly, gently make your way out of whatever posture you've chosen, whatever variation of this you've chosen. And then we'll heel toe, so make it super easy to just step right off the block. No stress. Excellent. Okay, so you know we're going to do this again. And this, again, the second time you might find that it feels like you can go a little bit deeper. I'm going to give you an option for that. So again, you can stay here in this position and pedal your foot. You may want to reach for the floor. You may want to let your head drop towards your ankle, and you might even want to take your right hand. See, I've got my right hand. That's a little variation you could try too, if you wish. Or you could take your right hand. I'm going to place it around and stick it on the floor so that I can get my head a little closer to my ankle. Now, I don't want anyone to strain here. So if you feel like you're straining in your hip, then please just back off a little bit. Make it easy. Make it so you can breathe and feel good here. Heel toe, and step out. There's this thing called push through the pain that I've heard about. It used to do, but it never serves us. So if you're pushing through pain at any point, just see what maybe it's like. Try it on. See what it's like if you don't push through any pain, but you make this nice and easy for yourself. And see if your body doesn't open up really nicely. All right, here we go. We're on the second side. Don't forget to press your foot into the block. That's one little piece that I can sometimes forget here. So I'm going to remind you too, and myself as well. You might even take that hand around the other foot. That's, for my seasoned folks who've been doing this for a while. Press your foot down into the block and breathe. And slowly, gently make your way out. Heel toe. Excellent. And just notice how your hips feel here. All right, so let's have a seat. And then we're going to sit down on the block and just gently cross the legs in front. And notice how you feel here in your hips. We're going to get into a little spinal twisting. So take your hands into a prayer position. Your first fingers touch your chin gently, and your thumbs touch the collarbones. And as you twist, we're going to go really slowly so that you can feel the muscles that pull you into the twist and that untwist you. And I just want you to kind of get present to where am I feeling this? What muscles are working here? And, here's the other one. Am I breathing? That's always a good one to check in with your breath. Your breath gives you a lot of information about what's going on. Now we're holding this. So next time you come into the twist, hold the twist and breathe. And just feel what's going on there. Gently untwist. And we're going to go to the other side. So notice we twisted to the right if you're on the same side as me. Now we're twisting to the left. Noticing which muscles are working here. Notice you might feel a difference from one side to the other. Like if one side of your back is tight, you'll gather that information here. If your muscular effort was good on one side, but can't quite connect with the muscles on the second side, you might also be gathering information here about that as well. And none of it's wrong. It's just noticing will help guide you in your next piece of the puzzle. Hold and breathe. In through the nose, out through the nose. Lengthen your spine so you imagine kind of your belly button lifting up out of your pelvis, your heart lifting off your belly button, and the crown of your head lifting up off your chest. Come on back to the center and take a breath. All right, let's take this block out from under the hips. We're going to put them on either side of the hips and just loosely cross your legs. This is a decompression position, so I'm pressing down through the palms and lifting the hips. Now I want you to let your hips hang. Sometimes we pull them up like this. I want you to let them hang like this. Yes. And feel that decompression in the spine. I'm going to show this from the side so you can hold here. If you need to come out for a little wrist roll break, you're welcome to. But as you exhale, I'm going to pull back. This is going to add some more decompression. See, I'm pulling back. My spine's really long. My hips are heavy. I'm still breathing. Breathe with me. I know you guys are doing excellent. Yes. And then rest for a moment. Take a breath. And then maybe come back into it. You don't have to be on my rhythm at all. You don't have to pull back as much as I'm pulling back, but just to the point where you feel safe and strong. You could add a little twist here, a twist of the ribs. And release. So this is a way that you can decompress your low back, your spine. All right, now we're going to come into another hip position. So we're in a double L. There's a 90-ish degree angle here and a 90-ish here on both legs. Now, as we're here, you might feel a little outside of the hip stretch. I don't want you to lean forward, and I don't want you to lean to the side either, but sitting up nice and tall. Sometimes that can feel a little tight, and you could benefit if you have a pillow on your sofa, or I'm going to demonstrate it with the block, but you would put the pillow under your right butt cheek and make sure that your left hip is hanging off the pillow. If you're tight here in the front of the hip, here's a little fix-it for you. Pull the legs up into egg pose. Take one arm out and take your knee to your shoulder, like you're going to touch your knee to your shoulder. Do that 7 times on the right. And 7 times on the left. So if your hip flexors are tight, this is an exercise that can help them loosen as you come into this posture. And you might feel a little freer there in that hip. So what we're doing here is we're going to press the knee and the foot and everything in between down into the floor. We're going to press down and feel a bite on the outside of the hip right here. Press down to feel the bite and relax. Press down. Relax. And then switch to that other side. Get nice and comfortable. Make sure you're sitting up really tall. Press down. Relax. Press down. Relax. Good. One more time. Press down. Maybe a little hold here. Press down, relax. And one more time, press down. And relax. All right, let's go back to that original side. Back leg presses down into the floor. Relax. Press down. Relax. And again, press down. Right now we're working on glute medius strength and a little internal rotation. That helps open the hip. All right, we're going to press down. Again, press down and relax. Glute medius is the most commonly dysfunctional or underfunctional muscle in the low body. And you'd be surprised. It's regular people. It's professional athletes. We all can use a little tune-up in that glute medius. So we're going back to this side one more time. Pressing down, relaxing. Pressing down, relaxing. You're always welcome to go into a hold here. You want to make sure that glute medius outside of the hip muscle relaxes completely as you make your way to the other side. You are more than welcome to ask questions here because this can be a little confusing in this muscle sometimes. It's not the easiest one to wake up, so it takes a little something from all of us. It took me a while, so you're not alone. All right, we're going to lie down, and we have 2 blocks. We're going to pick the hips up and just slide these blocks under the hips. And make sure that your sacrum is supported. So that's the top of your pelvis. And then we just windshield wiper the knees. This should feel good. This should feel good. It's one of those yummy poses. All right, now I'm scooching myself. I'm going to pull my knees in toward my chest. Most people want to close the knees. I want you to open the legs and just let them kind of float. We're going to take one leg straight out to the side and face your toes toward the floor. They might touch the floor. They may not. But that other hip totally comes off the block. You see I'm like waving the block. It's nowhere even near the other block. Now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to trace a small line against the floor. If your leg doesn't touch the floor, that's okay. You can draw a line above the floor on an imaginary plane that's parallel with the floor. As you are really developed in your glute medius strength, you may start to trace a longer line, or this can actually turn into a semicircle eventually. Don't strain here. Don't stress. Don't overdo anything. Make it easy, make it breathable, and trust that you know your own boundaries, your own enough. If your leg gets really tall, you can kind of help it a little bit and then pull it back in. No tension, no holding in that hip, and just notice how it feels. All right, I'm coming out so that I can spin around, but you might just stay where you're at. You might I've got this wall to deal with. So I'm spinning around. You can just make sure you have enough room. Again, make sure that sacrum is supported and you have like kind of floppiness in your hips. No tension, floppiness in the knees. And then extend the second leg out. The toes might not want to face the floor. That's okay. We're going to do what we can with the muscular effort to have them face the floor. And then otherwise, don't worry about it. Starting to draw that little line, that bigger line, or maybe even the semicircle. Please don't feel like you have to do a big line or a semicircle. This is a very tender exercise because it is a hip opener. So it can feel a little tender sometimes. That's okay. Start off nice and easy. And then come back to this and see if after, 5 times you don't feel a little more at ease here, a little, maybe drawing a longer line. And then pull that leg back in. Take a couple of deep breaths. Lift your arms over your head and then roll side to side. I like to roll so far that I catch myself with my knee here against the floor. It just feels good. And then place your feet flat on the floor. Pull the blocks out from under your hips. Great work. Great, great work. And then roll to your side and gently push up to seated. So let's go back into that original position of sitting on the block with your legs crossed in front of you. And just notice what you feel here. All right, we're going to pull that block out again. We're going to go into one more twisty, stretchy, bendy exercise it's really a feel-good. So we're going to take one leg folded in, the other one straight out to the side. Not straight out to the side, actually, not forward, but at a 45. And we're going to twist over the folded leg. Reach that arm out to the side, up and over. So if you have your right leg bent, your right arm is reaching up and over toward your extended leg. If you have a lot of pull in your hamstrings, put a block under your knee on that extended leg. Just bend your knee and slide a block under it. I don't care how far or deep you go in toward the floor, but what I do care about is that you keep your spine nice and long. So make it easy, make it breathable. And gently switch. Twisting to your left. Left arm reaches up and over. Make sure you don't have any stretch in hamstrings. If you're stretching your hamstrings here, you want to put a block under your knee. And pulling out. Beautiful. Awesome. And extending that left leg, twisting over that right shoulder. Here we go for another one. I always feel more open on this second round. Check it out. Use your block if you still feel that hamstring pull. And roll open toward the ceiling. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. So good feeling. Reach out. And fold that left leg in, right leg out. Twist. And reach. Hold for a moment. And gently come out. And the reason we don't want the hamstrings to stretch is because we want this to be a spinal twist. And we want it to be a hip opener rather than a hamstring stretch. We're coming into a happy baby. You can grab around the thighs. You could grab the backs of the lower legs or the feet, and then just rock from side to side. Another yummy pose. So really, when you're opening any joint, the key is not just to stretch, but you also have to have strength. Otherwise, you're not going to get a permanent opening, and you can injure yourself by only stretching. So we're going to roll to both knees to one side. I'm going to the left, and then I'm going to use my right arm to push up into this deer pose twist. As I'm looking down, I can see my thigh parallel and breathing, belly and ribs. Relaxing down onto that left shoulder. Roll out. Roll both knees over to your other side. Keep rolling to your right. Push up from the left hand. Elbows to the floor and breathe. Breathe with your belly and with your ribs. And then gently place your right shoulder to the floor and roll back. And push gently up to seated. We're going to finish our practice today with a supported fish pose. So grab 2 blocks and we're going to stick them behind the back. The bra strap should be on the near edge of the block as you bend backward. Catch your head and squeeze your elbows toward each other. And then exhale as you push gently up to seated. And you can take those blocks out of the way. So we're getting ready for our relaxation part of the class. And if this is where you usually hit stop and then go on about your day, I'm going to challenge you to be here for just 5 minutes. Actually, just 4 minutes. We're going to breathe together. Let every piece of your body totally relax and melt into the floor. Now, some of you might want to practice a little legs up the wall, so I'm going to show you that here in a moment, how to do legs up the wall. But otherwise, you can just rest flat on the floor. Well, the idea about meditation that I hear often is that you have to clear your mind. If you're wondering what is legs up the wall, you might peek your eyes open a little bit and notice what I'm doing here. Hips are touching or almost touching. But the idea isn't that you're wrong in thinking. You're a human being. You were meant to think. But rather than have a thought and then kind of run with it, like, oh yeah, I need this at the grocery store. Oh, okay, after this I'm going to put it on my list. That's the next thought. So what we want to do instead, really, is we want to not engage with it, but let it go. Just say to yourself, thinking, and let it go. Please feel free to keep resting here for another 5 to 10 minutes. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me. Namaste.